topic colon cancer, and after I discuss the theory part, the specimen and the microscopic slides will be shown to you. So, colon cancer is not an uncommon entity. It is in fact the third most common cancer and the second most common cause of cancer related deaths. And here the cells lining the colon or the colonic epithelium, this turns into malignant. From the benign colonic epithelium turns into malignant. First of all, there is dysplasia of the colonic epithelium, and then this dysplasia changes to malignancy. So, it can begin as a polyp. So, these are the main sites of colonic carcinoma. So, cecum is 8%, hepatic flexure is 8%, transverse colon is 6%, splenic flexure is 2%, descending colon is 10%, sigmoid colon is 20%, rectum it is the highest of all. The most of the cases occur in the rectum, which is 38%, and there is anal canal carcinoma, which is 3%. So, these are more or less the percentages. Most common in the rectum, then sigmoid colon, then descending colon, then hepatic flexure and cecum, then transverse colon, then splenic flexure. Appendix is very little, 0.5%. So, this is the distribution of the colon cancer. So, it is most common in the rectum and then in the sigmoid colon. So, what are the clinical features you will get in the patient? In case of left-sided colonic carcinoma, this splenic flexure, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, you will get pain, mass, bleeding, change in bowel habit, weight loss, vomiting and obstruction. These are the common manifestations of the cancer of the left side of the colon, this side. What are the manifestations of rectal cancer? Same pain, there may or may not be mass, bleeding per rectum, change of bowel habit, weight loss, vomiting does not occur, vomiting is quite unlikely, and obstruction. So, these are the main clinical features of rectal carcinoma. And the right sided colonic lesions, this is the right side of the colon. The right sided colonic lesions present with abdominal pain, mass, rectal bleeding, diarrhea or change in bowel habit, weight loss, vomiting, obstruction. So, vomiting is more common in the left and right colon. There may be vomiting, pain, mass, bleeding. Whereas in the rectum, bleeding is the main feature, and in rectum you may or may not get a mass lesion. You will only see loss of rugosity, and when you take sections and examine under the microscope, you will see that there is adenocarcinoma. So, in rectum, mass is not a problem, bleeding is the main problem, and rectal carcinoma is the most common type of large gut carcinoma. So, these are asked in the examination. Which is the most common site? What are the most common presenting features? These are asked in the examination. Risk factors. Polyps. Polyps are definitely a risk factor. Age. The more the age, the more the risk factor. Inflammatory bowel disease is a risk factor. Diet is a risk factor. Diet high in saturated fat, red meat, these are also common risk factors. Obesity is a risk factor. Smoking, alcohol, these are all risk factors. And there is a family history of cancer. This is also a risk factor. There is also environmental factors and genetic factors, and most 35% of the cancer are related to diet and lifestyle. And this diet and lifestyle, these are modifiable factors. So if you modify the diet and the lifestyle factor, then there will be reduction in the cases of cancer. So meat, as consumption of red meat, animal unsaturated fat, refined carbohydrates, alcohol, these are all related with increased risk in the incidence of colorectal carcinoma. And the preventive factors are dietary fiber. The more you increase the dietary factor, the less chance of carcinogenesis. And dietary fibers, under dietary fibers comes the vegetables, fruits, and then antioxidants and vitamins, folic acid, calcium, all these, they decrease the risk of colorectal carcinoma. Now, hereditary colorectal cancer syndrome, this you have to read as a short note. This may come as a short note. You will your classes have been taken on colonic cancer, theory class.
It has been taken.
So this hereditary colorectal cancer syndromes, this may come as short note.
Any problem?
So there is a condition called familial adenomatous polyposis, and it is autosomal dominant. And there is mutation in the APC gene. You have to remember this, autosomal dominant, APC gene, chromosome 5. These three things you have to remember. And in FAP, the cancer develops in adolescents and young adults. So, although colorectal carcinomas are more common in older age group, FAP is more common in adolescent and young adults. And there is another entity, hereditary non-polyposis colon cancer, or HNPCC, or Lynch syndrome. There is also a increased risk of colon and rectal carcinoma, but it is lesser than hereditary adenomatous polyposis. If you compare the risk of familial adenomatous polyposis and hereditary non-polyposis colon cancer, then the risk is lower in this entity. And here there is mutation in the tumor suppressor genes such as MCC, BRCA1, P53. There is mutations in these genes, and this is less common than the previous one. Now, how will you screen a patient? This is more of a clinical thing. So, I have previously mentioned the signs and symptoms of colonic carcinoma: right colon, left colon, rectal carcinoma. So, average adults aged 50 years or older should undergo one or more of the following: annual fecal blood occult test, fecal occult blood test, OBT of stool OBT, or immunochemical test, sigmoidoscopy every 5 years, double contrast barium enema. Any of the tests you have to do at high risk adults aged 50 years or older. CT colonography, colonoscopy, So, and if there is a history of FAP or HNPCC, the patient should be screened at a lower age and they should be screened more frequently. So, this is the screening thing. Now, the pathology. The majority of the colorectal neoplasms are adenocarcinomas. There is a big WHO classification, but we have to remember the majority of these are adenocarcinomas. They arise from the lining epithelium. And adenocarcinomas may be well differentiated, moderately differentiated or poorly differentiated, and G1, G2, G3. G1 is well differentiated, G2 is moderately differentiated, G3 is poorly differentiated, and obviously the poorly differentiated ones have a worse prognosis. Squamous cell carcinoma is common in the anal canal where there is squamous lining. And if these squamous cell carcinomas and adenocarcinomas are treated differently. Squamous cell carcinomas also may be like well differentiated, moderately differentiated, poorly differentiated, but the treatment protocol of adenocarcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas are totally different. Diagnosis: if the patient presents with the signs and symptoms that I previously told, so you go for a flexible colonoscopy. And you take the biopsy from the suspicious areas or the suspicious lesions and you examine under microscopy. So, if the colonoscopic biopsy is positive, then you go for further examination. And CEA or carcinoembryonic antigen is the tumor marker which is positive for colorectal carcinoma. And you have to do a radiological studies to see the local extent of the disease, or for metastatic disease you have to do the radiological studies. And finally you have to go for a resection of the colon. Depending on the site of the carcinoma, you have to do a colonic resection. So, this is how a colonic carcinoma looks like. See, there are multiple polypoid lesions. Here the rugosity of the colonic mucosa, it is lost, and these are multiple polyps. So, these are polypoid lesions and this is a gross picture of a colon. So, these are the carcinomatous polyps. So, this is one gross, this is another one, perhaps it presented with obstruction. See the narrowing of the lumen here, and this is the mass. This is the mass, and see how narrow the lumen is here. So, this case must have presented with obstruction of the bowel. This total thing is the mass. There are no other polyp visible and only this single large mass is visible. This is another gross. See this mass, the proliferative mass in the colon. So, these are some of the gross pictures of a colonic carcinoma. Now, this is the microscopic picture. See, this is the normal colonic mucosa. These are absolutely normal mucosa, but here what you can see, there is crowding of the glands and there is prominent nucleus and nucleoli you can see it better under the microscope. So these are the glands are lying back to back, and these cells are all malignant cells, and the mass is infiltrating beneath the mucosa. It is in the submucosa and the muscularis propria region. Here is the malignant infiltrating tumor, and here there is the absolutely normal mucosa. So these are the malignant glands. There are multiple layers, and these glands, the nuclei are enlarged, and there is clean gland formation here, but here there is no gland formation. This is like a mass of cells. So cells can occur in glandular formation or like this, and these are all the malignant epithelium, and you will see the characteristic features of a neoplastic cell in these areas, and this is infiltrating within the muscularis propria. This is another picture. These are all the malignant glands, the malignant epithelium. This is the malignant epithelium, these malignant glands, and these are infiltrating deep inside the colonic wall. This is another picture. It is crowding of the glands, and this is the whole of the thing is the malignant colonic mucosa, and it is also infiltrating into the wall of the colon. Another picture. In this picture you can see there is almost no glandular formation, almost a solid mass. So there may be gland formation, there may not be gland formation. The malignant cells may be like this, there is no gland formation and is lying like a solid mass. So what are the staging? So the first stage is carcinoma in situ, where it is limited in the mucosa and the submucosa, and the other part of the colon is not involved. And if you see carcinoma in situ is generally diagnosed under the microscope, and if you see a polyp like this, you just remove the polyp, and if you see it is carcinoma in situ and the basement membrane is intact, then you don't have to do anything. You just have to remove the polyp. The next stage is stage 1. In stage 1, it invades the mucosa to the muscularis mucosa. Okay, it has invaded the muscularis mucosa, and here you have to remove the tumor and the surrounding lymph nodes, the draining lymph nodes. Then stage 2, it has spread beyond the muscularis propria, but it has not crossed the serosa, and it is treated with surgery and chemotherapy. And if lymph nodes are present, then you have to give radiotherapy also. Stage 3, there are presence of lymph nodes, multiple lymph nodes, and it has crossed the serosa, and it is also treated with radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, all modalities together.
And stage 4 is metastasis.
Metastatic carcinoma. It has spread outside the colon or rectum to other areas of the body, and here surgery may or may not be done depending upon the condition of the patient, and chemotherapy can be given. And where does metastasis occur?
The metastasis may occur to bone, lungs, liver. These three are the common sites of metastasis. Liver, lung,
And bones. These
are
are
the
three main sites of metastasis. And what are the good prognostic factors? Microsatellite instability, increased tumor infiltrating lymph nodes. These are good prognostic factors. Okay. And poor prognostic factors are detection in the advanced stage of the disease, high grade lymphovascular and perineural invasion, positive resection margins in case of surgery, high tumor burden, CDH2 loss, and high stromal content. These are all associated with poor prognostic factors.